Hi everybody, Ken from Oz here, and if you're watching my other video about the self-printing pages on Filofax pages, this is the video that I'm going to show you how I did it. So just a little recap, if you haven't watched the other video, is that I've just showed a few pages that I have printed directly through my printer, just to embellish the pages and make them just a little bit better than the plain black and white with lines and words. So there's a nice festive one. There's the small corner decorations if you don't want to impose too much on the pages. I've got some checkpoints if you're into bullet journaling, and also just some steampunk sort of decorations there, and of course just highlighting certain days, butterflies, and I think the last one was the SPIRALDEX, which you can directly print onto your pages, which might save getting a stamp or doing it by hand. And then I also talked about just creating tones on the page. So how do I do it? Well, I'll just move the Filofax out of the way, and I'll get you to have a look at my screen of my computer. There we go, a little bit of a time warp in there. And I'm going to pull up the document that I use, and this is the it's a publisher, word publisher document, and it's got a lot of the different decorations on either side here, but what I want to focus on is actually trying to work out how to print it up on the screen, to know the positioning of the paper so that you can place it directly into your printer. So what I did was did a Google image search and just got a grid. You don't have to use a grid, but I found that was a bit more easy for me to gauge what I'm doing. I cut and pasted the image onto the top of the A4 or A4 size page that's on Publisher. I know that the personal size, and this is for the personal size, isn't really going to be much bigger than the size there. Let me just show you. So there's the paper, and I know that basically the personal size fits into around there. So I place it on the grid, and then what I did was actually just get a piece of paper, a printed paper, as a bit of a guide. Now what I knew, this is one that is from an old Filofax insert that I haven't used, and what I'm going to do is actually place this into the printer, and that will then see what areas of this will actually be printed onto the paper and gives me a range. Now there's also, I'm sure there are other easier ways of doing this, but I found this one was fairly quick for me, and it also means that different printers that have different places for you to put your paper in will be different. So publishing a template would not probably be a good idea, because my printer is definitely different to most of yours. So place that into the printer. Now I'll just put this down again so I can have a look, and down like that. So I'm going to move the camera now over to the printer to show you what I've done over here. So here we go, my printer. Now what I'm doing is I'm using a Brother printer that I just got from Officeworks in Australia, and it comes with this little slot where you actually can put individual papers, and this moves, there's a little paper guide that moves in and out, and I've sort of gauged it so that it would actually be the right size to place the paper in. Now it's got to be fairly snug but not too tight, and when I place it into the printer picks up that the paper is in, and it will push it in just a slight amount and get it ready for printing. So you hear that noise. This is mine. You saw it move, and that way I know it's ready to print. So again, many printers are different to this one, but this is the way I'm working. You might actually use your cartridge tray. You'll have to look at the details of your printer as well. So I'm just sharing how I've done it on mine. Now this is quite a cheap little laser printer from Brother, and yeah, so you'll have to just sort of gauge how you can do it on your own particular setup, and but as I said, I'm just showing you what I'm doing with mine. So let's go back to the screen and show you what I'm doing now. So just bring it back up the publisher program, and basically then just print it off. So print it, click print, which I'm just doing up here with the mouse, and it's printing. Now I won't show you the paper actually going in and printing, but it's just going to take about 10 seconds to just organize itself and print it up. You might need to work out how the paper goes in and how it comes out, and the orientation is really important, and again, depending on your printer, how it works. So what I should have done, what it's done there, is then print it up on the paper. I'll just hold that up there. You can see now the zones that are the edge borders for this personal paper. And I can use that as a guide. So if you can see there, it's between the 3 column and the 8 column over here. And what I can do then is, using the changing the size, okay, I'm going to put a rectangle over, and I'm going to place it up the top. And as I can see on this piece of paper, it goes right to the top of the page, and it goes straight through the first 3. So I'm going to place it there. Oops, I'll just do that again, because I need to make sure that this new rectangle sits on top. So let's just, oh, no, bear with me. Bring it over, and I'm going to put it just through the 3. So if you can see there, that's sort of where I need it to go. And then it's also going to be cutting just on the other side of the 8. So I might just change the inside of the shape so that it's got no fill, and I'm going to put the outline as black just so we can see it, maybe a little bit thicker. And there we go there. Now it might be a little bit hard to see, but if you look closely there, you'll see that's that rectangle there. Now I want to move the border to the 8, and it's just touching that side of the 8 and through the 3. Now down below, it cuts off just under the 84, 85, 86, which is here, and it's just about right. But I might just slightly move that up, like so. Now what that has done for me is now placed that rectangle in position, so I know exactly where my printer is going to print. Now I click on the grid, I'm going to delete it, or move it. I might just move it aside, and there is the zone that should be printed. Now I can test that, but just to save time I won't, but that's how I gauged where to put the zone, so I can then put the embellishment in. Now I've actually done that ahead of time, so I'll get rid of that second one, and there you can see my original rectangle that is there. And then I've just placed those 2 little bits of embellishment patterns just on the top and bottom corner, and that then positions it just in the right place. So I won't print it now because just to save time, but basically then you can see that it's printed it in the bottom corner and the top corner. And the good thing about my printer is that actually the border is just on the top line, so the date here, there's December 2013, is left alone when it prints it out. And I actually quite prefer that because I don't want to cover everything up. And that's basically it. Being able to print it on, it's a bit of a trial and error. I would suggest perhaps you test it out on some spare insert paper, just so that you've got a good idea exactly how to print it. But and it's done 1 page at a time. I would say that, and I'll just close this down and get back to have a look at the diary again. So let's have it down here. There is in my printer just a little bit of a difference between the left and right hand side pages, and again it's an experiment. You've got to try and work it out. But once you get it going, I usually would then make 2 pages that would fit properly, a left and a right, and then if I want to do, for instance, the Christmas tree one, then I would just put the logo and the picture on the left page one, and then the other side will have the right side, and try and work it out. So it is a bit of an experimentation, but I think you would agree with me, it's well worth having a go, because instead of having all washi tape and stickers there, and again, it is in black and white. If you have a color printer, then all the better, but you can do anything you want and create your own stylized inserts using the Filofax inserts and make it exactly the way you want it. Any questions, please email me or contact me, subscribe to my channel. There's also a link, as I said earlier, to the SPIRALDEX page if you're interested to find out a bit more about that. And there's also another video on my channel. And I hope you have a great time improving upon and creating some amazing pages for you to use in your Filofax. So, hope that was helpful. This is Kent from Oz saying thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on another Filofax tip.